In this video I have an Audi A3 2010, and I'm gonna be removing and changing the rear door glass, driver's side, and for that we need to remove the door panel. So I'm just removing the switch, the cover switch there, the cover that is just on top of the electric window switch. Inside of there is Torx screw, which is a T25 or a T30. Most of the Torx screws that we're going to be removing are T25s, and but we're also going to need a T30 and a T45 Torx bits to remove some of the screws. So after removing that part, we can go ahead and remove the little cover that is covering the little speaker there, the tweeter. So that's just a little cover. It pops out. You can use using some plastic prying tools to try and keep the panel safe from scratches. And there is another Torx screw inside of that area there. Just remove the screw, and that's pretty much the only two screws that are actually holding the panel in. Once you remove those two, you will need to start prying the panel off. It's plugged in with some plastic little clips. Often they break, but sometimes they just come out, they pop out, but you need some force to remove them. So I'm gonna be using a couple of plastic prying tools to pop them out, and when they do pop out, they make a bit of a loud sound, like the whole car is falling apart. I'm not sure why they are like that, but that's how they are. So you need to pop that out. Okay, so now we need to pull the panel upwards, basically. Pull it up to unhook it from the door frame, and then once you get it unhooked, it can be a little bit tight. It just needs to come up, a little bit of persuasion. But once it's up there, it will come off, and then you can release. You will need to disconnect some wires. So once you manage to pull it up and disconnect it from the top, it's just like plugged into like a little rail, but it will come off, and then you will need to disconnect two wires and the door cable that opens and locks the door. Just needs to be unhooked, and then just leave it there on the side, and then disconnect the speaker wire. And there's another wire that is just connected on the side, that's for the electric window switch. Then you can remove that panel. Okay, so now I'm just going to focus on the edge of the door. There's that little it's a rubber cover. It just unplugs from the door, and there is a couple of Torx screws that are in there. But I realized you don't really need to remove the whole cover. You can just lift it up. I remove the whole thing, but you don't have to. So once you remove that rubber cover, you can undo that Torx screw, and that is a T45 that needs to be taken out. Once you remove that screw, you need to go into the other edge of the door, the inner one, and remove another rubber cover. Again, you don't really need to remove the whole cover. You can just unplug some of the parts and lift it a little bit to one side. I removed the whole thing, and then it was a little bit hard to put it on. So again, with the T45, undo that Torx bolt, and you can take it out and put it to one side. So there is a few Torx bolts, screws we're going to be removing. Those are the T45 ones, and now we're going to focus on those little ones. They are T25s, and they hold the regulator, the window regulator. So we need to undo, I think it's 3 or 4 of those screws, but we'll go through those. Remove all of those as you go along. Okay, so now I'm just focusing on the window, the electric window motor. We need to remove that as well. That's 3 T45s, and also just remove the wiring. You can just press on the clips and take the wiring out. There's a little red tab that you need to pull out on that connection. So pull the red tab out, and you will be able to remove that connector. That little red tab comes out, and then you're able to remove that. And then just remove the three T25s, and then that motor just pulls out basically. So go ahead and do that. Once you remove the electric motor, you have those other two T25 screws that are holding the window regulator. That's one of them there, and then there will be one more at the bottom, so that will make 4 of them really. So just go ahead and remove all of them, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so to the right hand side of the door, on the edge, there is a Torx screw there. As far as I remember, that is a T30. So if you can undo that T30, then that will release the window frame on that side. So I'm just removing that now. You don't need to remove this cover at all. I removed it, but you don't have to. And you don't have to remove the speaker either, so don't remove those. Now we're going to remove another Torx that is just hiding behind that little rubber cover. And there will be one on this end, and there will be another one on the other end of the door, on the inner side. So just go ahead and remove that Torx screw. But like I said, the actual speaker does not need to be removed, and that panel that I removed does not need to be removed either. There's nothing behind there that needs to be taken out or anything, so you can just leave them on as they are. That will save you a bit of time. So once you taken that side out, then just go into the, you can see that the frame is getting loose. There will be another one of those screws on the inner bit. Again, you need to remove the rubber cover. Okay, so once you remove those two Torx on the sides, the whole mechanism will lift out, and then you will be able to replace the regulator or the actual window. So now we can undo. There's two Torx screws, and again, I think they are T25s. Undo the two screws, and then we will be able to unhook the glass from the regulator mechanism. Just pull those two clips, and then the easiest way is to actually pull the window down. I didn't realize you can at this point, so I was fiddling a little bit about with it. But you can pull the whole thing down, and you can then remove the glass. I was changing the glass because the glass, that particular glass, is very scratched, although it's not very noticeable on the camera, but it is scratched, and the customer wasn't too keen on it, so we changed it for another one. But this method, the whole method really allows you to either change the glass, change the regulator, how to remove the door panel. You can change the motor, the electric motor if need be. So there's a few things you can do with the whole of this video, really, with all of this work. Yeah, there's a number of things that you have access to. So once I changed the glass, it was just a matter of getting it back in and refitting all of the Torx screws. This isn't that bad of a job actually. I was expecting it to be a little bit more tragic, but it wasn't. Torx screws came out, and the whole frame came out without any pain. And obviously I removed that center panel and I removed the speaker, and you don't really need to remove those to actually remove this frame. So you can do it fairly quickly, really. It's not really that bad. And also the little rubber bits that go on the side, if you just lift them up a little bit to access the Torx screws, bolts, you don't need to fiddle with them when refitting them back. So hopefully the watching the video helps you save some time. And from here on I'm just going to refit everything back. Not forgetting that screw there. That is a T30. Okay, so most of the little screws are T25s. That particular one is a T30, and the other ones, that one there and the one behind that rubber grommet and that one there, they are T45s. Now there was no need for me to remove that panel really. I just removed it to see if there was anything else obstructing the rails, but there wasn't, so technically there's no need to remove that panel. And to be honest, I don't think there's a need to remove the speaker either. It's just a matter of removing the screws. So I've seen in other videos that people are removing these things. Maybe that's older models or something. This is a 2010, so I'm not sure. Anyway, as you saw in this video, I was changing the glass because the glass that was on it had really horrible scratches on it. But this method, you can also change the regulator, obviously, because we have to remove the whole thing. So you can change the regulator. You can also, in any case, we're removing the door panel, so you can change, if need be, that motor there. It's just 3 screws, or you can change your speaker itself. That is the speaker there. Again, 3 T25 screws. It's not such a bad job to do, apart from when you pull the panel out, it sounds like you're, I don't know, like some kind of earthquake is happening. It's really loud for some reason, those little clips that hold the panel in. So now I'm gonna refit the panel. We just need to hook the opening cable here and pull it onto here and reconnect the wires and push the clips back on. And don't forget these little covers here. That would be a lot easier to fit in before this, so just make sure to get it on there. And that's it. So hope this video helps, and thank you for watching.